Okay, so I wanted to talk about something that I found out while I was using MAME, and it's kind of interesting. This is basically going to be of interest to people that happen to have monitors that have a vertical resolution of 800, 1600, basically, resolutions like that. This is going to be kind of involved, but it's pretty fucking weird. Okay, so right now I'm running at 3840 by 1600. Now this is Final Fight, running in MAME with the normal code, and so just so we can see here, basically, the game starts 854 pixels in, and if we get rid of all the dead space and see how much visible space we actually have, uh, this led to something interesting. So I'm going to get rid of all the dead space. We can see, how how large the visible space in MAME actually is. Okay, so I'm getting rid. Let me get rid of the rest of it. Okay, so so basically, what we have here is three or 2132 by 1600. Okay, and the game basically looks fine. It doesn't seem like anything's wrong, but it turns out that there's a 20-plus-year-old MAME error that I found here. So okay, so that's fine. But so let's figure out though, like, if that's the case, what should it be? Okay, so we know that Final Fight, and basically I found this out because I was comparing MAME to my version of Final Fight. I realized that they didn't match, and I thought that I fucked up, but it was actually MAME that had a bug. So so we know that the aspect ratio is 4:3, okay, and we know that 4 3 oops 4 divided by 3 ends up being 1.3. Okay, and so we know that we have 1.3 horizontal pixels for every vertical pixel. So basically, we know that 1600 times this is going to give us what the horizontal resolution should actually be for 4.3. And so the interesting thing we can see here is we're getting an odd fractional value here. And so, and you'll see that also if you happen to run it like, say, 1280 by 800, you can also run into a problem there. So, so if you ran at if you had 800 pixels as your vertical resolution, you would end up getting that which is also kind of interesting, right? Okay, so let's see. So on the left here, let's see what actually happens in MAME. Let's see what happens when we plug in these numbers and see what it actually does. So basically, what MAME does is, it basically figures this out, that this is the target render size that it needs to be. It's gonna basically round these numbers. So it's gonna get this number. It's gonna round it, and so you'll end up just with the integer 2133. Now, what it does is it does a calculation to figure out how to offset the screen, because basically when you display this thing, you have to you have to offset it to the left and right, so it's kind of like in the center of the screen. Okay, so to figure out that offset, look at what it's doing here. Here's the code for it. So basically, it's saying that we'll take the overall width of the screen, we'll subtract the visible width, and we'll divide it by 2. And so in that case, what do we end up getting here? Oops. we end up getting this interesting fractional value. And if we go back here, again, you'll notice that when we looked to see where the game started, we noticed that it actually started at 854 pixels in. Now the problem with this is that basically because it came up with a fractional offset for it, and 0.5 would round up, it basically shifted the whole image over to the right. But because the visible area was calculated correctly, it basically ends up just slicing off a whole vertical column of pixels. And so basically you end up with this weird thing where basically you end up with 2132 visible pixels, even though 2133 was actually closer. Now the problem gets even like deeper and more fucked up because so here's the next problem. So I started off by fixing this, and I fixed it. So we said, all right, let's just round this shit. Instead of 854 or say 854, let's just round it back down to 853. Now if we do that, we see all 2,133 pixels, but the problem is now you have a different number of dead space, pillar box space on the left and the right side of the screen, and so that's no good either, because basically like you're gonna want for your bezels and shit like that potentially the same exact space on the left and right side of the screen. So to solve this, I added a new function to MAME that basically gives you the nearest even resolution. And so by doing this, what we end up with in this case, where basically what it's doing is it's saying like if we get an odd number, like 2133, let's find out whether the true fractional value is closer to the next number or the previous number. And depending on which one it's closer to, we'll take that and we'll make that our visible, size. So in this case, it'll bump it up, and we'll end up with 2134. And basically everything becomes visible if I go into this new main build that I made. So if we go in here, see if I can get a screenshot here. Okay, so now you'll see, if we look at this sucker, it now starts 853 pixels in, and now we have an even number of pixels on the left and right side. So basically there's no like right, there's no column of pixels cut off anymore. The entire image is viewable, and you have an even number of pixels for the pillar boxing on the left and right. So the crazy thing is, if you happen to run at a resolution like 2560 by 1600 or 1280 by 800, or like now with these ultra wide monitors, a 3840 by 1600 resolution, basically you've been missing a column of pixels in MAME for all this time, all these fucking years. So I'm submitting this change to MAME, and hopefully it'll make it in, but it just blows my mind, like it's actually been wrong for that fucking long. And like I said, the only reason I noticed this is because in my version of Final Fight, this was the number that I came up with originally, for like this monitor for 4.3, and so I was like, what the hell is going on here? Why was I only seeing 2,132 horizontal pixels? Like why is it different? Why is it off? And so it ended up being that's what's going on all that time. It's pretty fucking crazy. I mean, yeah. So basically, I mean the thing is too, when you really look at it, I mean, just due to the nature of monitors, I mean, you can't have a pixel that's like halfway in between pixels. I mean like pixel positions to a certain extent basically have to be integer numbers. They can't be fractional. And so to a certain extent, on top of the change I made, I could see actually just rounding all these offset values anyway, because you essentially never want a fractional offset for your visible area, in MAME when you have pillar boxing or letter boxing. And the thing too to think about this is kind of interesting because there are all different kinds of scenarios where this flaw could be fucking up the output by a pixel or two because you have to remember that it also applies to the y offset as well as the x offset. And so it's just crazy. I mean, it just makes me laugh, like all this fucking time goes by and nobody notices this. It's just insane. So and in the description I put a link to the latest no nag build of the MAME source with this fix included. So basically, like I said, if you happen to be running at 2560 by 1600 or something, or like a resolution like that, you've been missing a column of pixels all this fucking time in every single game.